If you take Darwinian theory, which says that we're in a competition and we have to compare each other as to where we fit, and you mix that with a Newtonian vision from physics that the primacy of the universe is found in the physical structure. And then you put those two together and you say, well, how do you know where you fit in the Darwinian world? And the answer is, how much material do you own? And so, evolution of humanity since Newtonian times was to extract the material from the planet so that we could have possessions. And that the possessions then were a reflection of where we stand in the hierarchy. If you're very low in the hierarchy of human life, you have nothing. If you're very high in the hierarchy of human life, you have money and possessions and houses and toys and all these things. So then you say, well, then who suffers from all this? Well, there's great suffering at every level, whether suffering in the physical planet or in the human civilization, there's suffering all over. In order for me as a human to prove my hierarchy, I have to extract the material from the planet. So what do? I mine the planet. I rape the planet of all of its possessions so that I can hold in my hand this chunk of gold and say, see how much I am worth, where is your gold? Theory of evolution is not based on community, but based on the individual. Newtonian physics said it's only the visible things that are relevant. But in a world based on quantum physics, which is based on energy, some of the things that we understand in the nature of energy are emotions and feelings, such as love and beauty. These are expressions of energy. And in a world of quantum physics, we surely emphasize more the nature of love and feelings and energy and beauty and harmony over the money and the material expressions that we look at today. And why is this important? Because then you look at the world and you say, do you want a pound of gold, or do you want to be totally in love in your life?
This is a painting known as The Supper at Emmaus. And in the 1940s, when it was thought to be painted by Johann Vermeer, it was worth millions of dollars. It was perhaps literally priceless. It was in Holland, and it was one of the most renowned paintings in Europe. People would travel through Europe to see it. Until one terrible day when it was discovered that it was not painted by Vermeer at all, but by the great forger, Van Meegeren. In other words, it was discovered it was not this painting, but that painting. And all of a sudden, its value dropped to nothing. How you taste something is critically affected by what you believe you're eating. And this shows up in all sorts of ways. One nice finding involves children. How do you get children not just to eat their carrots and drink milk, but after they have the carrots and milk, to report that they tasted good, better than your normal carrot, better than your normal glass of milk? It's actually terribly simple to do this. This was done in a study a couple of years ago. You take them out from a McDonald's bag. They get people into a brain scanner, and as they're lying on their back, there's a tube going into their mouth. And they get to drink wine through the tube while their brains are being scanned. Above them is a screen where they can read information about the wine that they're drinking. Everybody drinks the same wine. If they think they're drinking the cheap stuff, they'll report, it doesn't taste so good, and they have a low-level neural response. If they think they're drinking out of a $200 bottle, they say they love it, and the pleasure centers of their brain light up like a Christmas tree. This is John Cage's work. Comes under different names, but it's often called 4 minutes, 33 seconds, because it was a famous modern performance where the pianist is instructed to sit at the piano and be silent for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Now, as you can imagine, this is fairly controversial, whether or not this is brilliant or just ridiculous. But my favorite fact about this is you can go onto iTunes and you can buy for $1.99 the entire thing of 4 minutes, 33 seconds, which is, of course, silent. And I've read commentaries on this where people are outraged. They say, look, just turn down the volume of your computer and sit there for 4 minutes, 33 seconds. But psychologically, I think that wouldn't be the same silence. This is that silence from that performance.
You know, it's astonishing to me that we don't realize we make this all up. We made the whole thing up. You know why gold is what the value it is? Because somebody said so. That's it. You know why fuel costs what it is? Because somebody said so. Somebody speculates, somebody decides, there's a belief, enough people join in, this is what a thing costs. We've all decided this. So an awakening of, we're repeating these cycles and we're getting kind of tired of it, maybe we should do something different this time around, be something different.
People are interested in processing meaning and values. We have to hear that. It's the society, the media especially, that puts ordinary people into this vain search of material goodies. Yeah. People didn't live this way even 50, 60 years ago. You know, this is just a very recent phenomenon, that if you have, instead of one cell phone, two cell phones in two pockets, then somehow you'll be better off.
Right. I'm the king of excess. I'm the sultan of sales. I'm the boss of bargains. My credit cards, they never fail. I got a 700 something on my beacon score, which means I don't own a thing and I can buy even more. I'm a buffet eating, tablet reading, lovable guy. I get the best of the best that my money can't buy. It's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life with my red-headed wife. It's a wonderful life.
The average U.S. person now consumes twice as much as they did 50 years ago. Ask your grandma. In her day, stewardship and resourcefulness and thrift were valued. So how did this happen? Shortly after World War II, these guys were figuring out how to ramp up the economy. Retailing analyst Victor Lebeau articulated the solution that's become the norm for the whole system. He said, our enormously productive economy demands that we make consumption our way of life, that we convert the buying and use of goods into rituals, that we seek our spiritual satisfaction, our ego satisfaction in consumption. We need things consumed, burned up, replaced, and discarded at an ever-accelerating rate. Advertisements and media in general plays a big role in this. Each of us in the U.S. is targeted with over 3,000 advertisements a day. We see more advertisements in 1 year than people 50 years ago saw in a lifetime. And if you think about it, what's the point of an ad except to make us unhappy with what we have? So 3,000 times a day, we're told our hair is wrong, our skin is wrong, our clothes are wrong, our furniture is wrong, our car is wrong, we are wrong, but it can all be made right if we just go shopping.
Mr. Rogers, who was the TV guy here in the United States, said the space between the television and the viewer should be sacred. It comes down to money. If they can sell it, if it helps humanity, I don't believe that the make or break point for anything that's done in the media, for the most part, 99%, is about the influence on the consumer. It's about, can we sell it? And if they could sell it and it's good for you, they'll sell it. But if they sell it and it's not good for you, they'll sell it anyway. In my world, I think that matters greatly on the impact of the listener because it changes their lives one way or the other.
Part of the problem is people are too focused on their own little world, their own little lives, what it is they want to accomplish, when in fact there's really nothing you can accomplish that feels quite as happy as doing it with other people. And so I think there's been too much of the entrepreneurial greed, me focus in the last few decades. And I do think that people have become aware that we're becoming more unhappy, not just in the United States, but all over the world. Depression rates are rising faster. I don't know that people are always aware of it until you ask powerful questions. And the research is so interesting on this that if you ask college students what they aspire to, they talk about money. But if you ask them what the best thing was that happened to them in the last month, they mention experiences with other people. They never mention possessions. So on an intuitive level, people do understand what it is that brings them joy, but sometimes they have to find out the hard way.
So we're in this ridiculous situation where we go to work, maybe 2 jobs even, and we come home and we're exhausted, so we plop down on our new couch and watch TV, and the commercials tell us you suck, so you gotta go to the mall to buy something to feel better, and then you gotta go to work more to pay for the stuff you just bought, so you come home and you're more tired, so you sit down and you watch more TV, and it tells you to go to the mall again, and we're on this crazy work, watch, spend treadmill, and we could just stop.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
We have actually produced more oil.
No. How much did you cut licenses and permits on federal land?
We must change with it.